So the Celtics have been on the brink of collapsing all year, and now they don't have Marcus Smart for 2 months apparently in the playoffs, or 2 rounds, or whatever it was said on Twitter. And no matter the case, they're going to be without the guy for a bit, and this really sucks because the mental thing with this team has been really rough all season, right? The expectations of guys taking shots and who gets to handle the ball, and Tatum and Jalen wanting the ball a little too much, Rozier wanting to shoot too much, Marcus Morris wanting to shoot too much, and while this is happening, Hayward's trying to get back. I mean, it's all a thing, right? And Marcus Smart, while he can still be a little frustrating with his three-point attempts, he was one of the guys on this team who was a little more content with not taking as many shots and doing the little things, right? Setting hard screens, going for offensive rebounds, playing on-ball defense, doing his Marcus Smart thing, of course. And now that this team is not going to have that one guy to rely on, besides Al Horford, I guess, in terms of not making as many potential selfish plays, that's going to be really tough to overcome. I mean, Marcus Morris, if we look at him, for example, I'm expecting that he's going to get he's going to do his isolations against the Pacers, which may or may not be good shots. He sometimes is pretty all right at hitting contested jumpers, but they're still not efficient attempts. Jalen has scaled it back a little bit lately, so that's cool, but I could still picture him attempting to do more than he can really handle as a ball handler against Indiana. Terry Rozier, he does that every single night, so to not have that one dude who can not make as many headache-inducing plays is pretty tough. The other thing with losing Marcus Smart is I think he was going to be one of the crunch time 5. I mean, it would depend on the game and all that, but I think the last 5 for the Celtics would probably be, or was going to be, Horford, Baines, Kyrie, Tatum, Marcus Smart, right? And I guess depending on if Tatum's playing well or not, you can go with Jalen or Hayward or Morris or whatever. But I think Marcus Smart was going to be a mainstay because the guy has just made a positive impact for this team for so long. And while Horford is probably the most impactful defender just because of the position he plays, you could have argued that Marcus Smart was the best defensive player on this team this year. I mean, I think he has a case for all defense something team. Maybe first team, maybe not, but if he doesn't make it, I'll be a little disappointed, certainly. So for him to not be here now, that's going to be tough. I mean, is Jaylen Brown going to just be content with not taking as many shots and taking on that defense first role and putting most of his energy into that side of the floor? I think he would be the best one to do it because I think he's the second best perimeter defender on the team. I don't expect Tatum to do it. I don't expect Hayward to do it. I don't expect Marcus Morris to do it. And I certainly don't expect Terry Rozier. So someone has to be content with taking like 6 shots a night. And I could picture it being Jalen. But even then, I'm not 100% comfortable with saying that because he was really bad to start this season because his expectations for the amount of shots he was going to take and all that were out of whack. And sure, he's figured it out since, but someone's got to play that role. I mean, I think, and you know, I can be wrong about that guy who's willing to take on Marcus's role. I mean, it could be Terry Rozier for all I know. He has shown a tendency to defend in the full court sometimes, which is certainly something, but that guy's self-awareness as a player has been pretty bad. And outside of the playoffs last year, he's been a negative NBA player, I'm going to assume. I'm not looking at any advanced stats, but just watching the guy play basketball, I'm pretty comfortable with saying that. So how does this all work into the Pacers series? I mean, Bojan today is certainly going to be easier now. He doesn't have to deal with that physical defender, and the Pacers are going to need him to make shots. I think a similar thing can be said for Wesley Matthews. Sure, he's not going to take as many shots as Bojan. He's not going to go off the dribble as much, but he's a pretty physical guard who has been in big playoff games, so he's going to have the guts to take shots, especially in Indiana. I could picture that with Wesley Matthews. Marcus could have bothered him. And the other thing is now you don't have Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown to put out there, which I think was one of the things that was going to make this team really difficult to score on, right? Especially because the Baines and Horford lineups have been so good. I mean, if you're going with Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Aaron Baines, Al Horford, that's one of the best, like, 4-man defensive groups I can think of in the league. It's probably not the absolute best, but it's certainly up there, especially against a team like Indiana that doesn't have the perfect stretch 4 option to go against Aaron Baines. I mean, Thad Young's a good player, but the best way to get Baines off the floor might be to just have a guy who can knock down threes, and Thad probably not going to be that guy. They can experiment with Bogdanovich and, like, Doug McDermott being out there. It's an idea. I mean, Doug, he might suck, if I can put it bluntly, but maybe that could work. There is also a chance Thad Young's athleticism could get the best of Baines, but I picture that not being the case in a half-court setting, at least. So there's all that. Yeah, this certainly sucks, no doubt about it. The other thing is, what Marcus would do is he would just create something out of nothing sometimes, where, say, the Celtics haven't scored in a minute or so and the other team's getting back into it, and then he'll just come out of nowhere for some crazy offensive rebound, or he'll take a charge or whatever, which would certainly help things. So there is that. Now, do I think they can still beat the Pacers? Yes, because I just think between Kyrie and Horford, and assuming Tatum doesn't suck and Hayward continues his, like, efficient 12 points per game self, and maybe does even a little better if I can be optimistic, although I wouldn't guarantee it happening, I just think that's enough talent to still be the difference. But, you know, it should be noted, Indiana, they're so together, and I'm going to picture them being really difficult to beat at home. They're going to be tough to beat, period, but I think especially in Indiana. And Marcus was the kind of guy who could be really good for you in that situation, because the Celtics, they take a lot of jump shots. They don't get to the line that much. They don't get that many offensive rebounds. I'm sure it's a little better now that Baines is actually healthy. But those are the kind of things that can really help you in a playoff series, especially on the road, because it's tough to just make shot after shot after shot, right? So to have that guy who can just get you some ugly points or some ugly stops is certainly something nice to have. And now, for a stretch of time, the Celtics are not going to have that. So there is all that. And, yeah, I don't think they can beat the Bucks or the Raptors without him. I didn't think they could beat those teams even with him, so I really don't think it now. I could picture them beating the Pacers, but, you know, in that video I did on that series, I predicted the Celtics would win in 6 games. I could picture this being the thing that pushes the series to 7. And, I mean, if it's a Game 7 in Boston, you gotta assume the Celtics win it. I mean, history and math just suggests they would, but this certainly closes the gap. If there was a gap at all, I mean, I don't think this is going to be an easy series, even as I predicted before that the Celtics would win in 6. I guarantee you, like, at least 4 of them would be nail-biters, so yeah, this is a scary thing for the Celtics, you know, so we'll see what happens.